My ex-wife and I both understood we had been given a second chance at life. This time, by a tacit understanding, neither of us mentioned the past. We silently deleted each other from our iMessage contacts, keeping our distance and choosing different paths. After we separated, she and her first love went abroad for advanced studies, while I remained at the local hospital. 7 years later, she had become a top Wall Street trader and publicly announced her wedding date with that same first love, Nathan Vance. At our high school reunion, everyone was praising her talent. Chloe stood in the center of the crowd, arm in arm with Nathan, basking in the compliments. "Chloe, you're incredible. You've only been on Wall Street in New York for a few years, and you're already one of the most promising traders. You're the pride of Austin High." "Absolutely. I heard the big shots on Wall Street pay just to have dinner with her. I heard her consulting fee alone is in the 6 figures. That's more than what most of us make in an entire year." "Chloe, I've been dabbling in stocks lately. For old time's sake, maybe you could give me an inside tip? Help a guy get rich." Someone in the crowd then asked curiously, "So, Chloe, are you and Nathan getting engaged?" Chloe looked tenderly at Nathan beside her. "We're getting engaged on December 20th. The surrounding crowd immediately erupted in another round of congratulations. An old classmate asked, "Chloe, do you still keep in touch with Ethan? You two were so intense back in the day. I heard the first song you ever wrote was for him." Hearing my name, I noticed Chloe's smile instantly freeze, her gaze darkening slightly. Nathan, standing beside her, just smiled and answered smoothly, "Come on, Chloe and I are about to get married. Childhood hobbies don't last, and neither do childhood sweethearts. She got over Ethan a long time ago." The crowd laughed, resuming their compliments on what a perfect couple they were. But I knew the truth. She had written that song herself when she confessed her feelings to me. In our past life, we were high school sweethearts, falling in love at first sight. She once looked at me with such sincerity and said, "Ethan, look into my eyes. I like you. Eyes can't lie." I believed her. It's a shame that in our last life, she lied anyway. With a calm expression, I walked into the ballroom. A sharp-eyed classmate spotted me. "Ethan, you finally made it. Why are you in casual clothes? Didn't you change into something more formal? Don't tell me you just got off work. Where are you slaving away these days? We've got some successful people here. Let them hook you up with something easier." Seeing how I was dressed, quite a few people started to sneer. I paid them no mind, just smiled and maintained a basic level of courtesy. From the moment I entered the room, Chloe's eyes had been fixed on me. I offered a polite greeting, "Long time no see." Chloe seemed taken aback for a second, her expression unreadable. Then, a mocking smile crossed her face. "Ethan, it's been years and you haven't changed at all. Still no ambition." Nathan shot me a venomous look. He deliberately tightened his arm around Chloe, as if staking his claim, and spoke in a provocative tone right in front of me. "Chloe, how can you talk to an old classmate like that? So what if he's having a rough time? We shouldn't rub salt in the wound. Ethan's life is hard enough as it is." He looked me up and down, a sneer on his face. "But seriously, Ethan, what's with the outfit? It's a mess. You're not a kid anymore. A man needs to present himself well, or you'll never find a wife. What woman wants a sloppy guy? I could lend you a few of my designer suits if you want." As soon as he finished, our classmates couldn't help but laugh. After all, Nathan was decked out in luxury brands, his hair perfectly styled, with a manicure that was flawless down to the last finger. He carried himself with the effortless air of someone born into wealth. I, on the other hand, had just come from the operating room. I hadn't slept in nearly 24 hours, and I probably looked completely drained and haggard. I was wearing comfortable sweats, a no-name brand I'd picked up from some random shop. There was no comparison. "No thanks, I'm good for now," I replied simply, taking a seat and starting to eat. After a long and intense surgery, I hadn't eaten all day. Just as I was starting to enjoy the food, Chloe suddenly walked over. She placed a check for $10,000 on the table in front of me. "This is for old time's sake, a little something to help you out. Treat yourself better from now on. Find a more respectable job, buy some new clothes, learn to love yourself. Ethan, what's past is past. You can't keep dwelling on it. If it weren't for you, never mind, it doesn't matter. The important thing is that you don't let my leaving completely destroy your will to live. Don't just give up on yourself, okay?" I looked up at Chloe, confused. Her unfinished sentence piqued my curiosity. What on earth did I do in our last life that made her abandon me so completely after our rebirth? In our last life, we were together from high school until our wedding day. She had her dream of being a musician, and I wanted to go to medical school. Both paths required a lot of money and energy, so naturally, one of us had to make a sacrifice. Because I loved her, I gave up my chance to go to grad school and get my doctorate. I entered the workforce early, supporting both of our dreams on my single income. She faced failure after failure, growing more frustrated and dejected each time. I was like her personal, never-ending power source. No matter how exhausted I was when I got home, I had to patiently soothe her fragile emotions. I thought she understood my love for her, but I never expected that when she wanted to buy yet another new guitar and I had to refuse because we just didn't have the money. She flew into a rage and smashed her old one to pieces. You know what? If I had just listened to Nathan back then and gone to the States with him, I wouldn't be living this miserable life. I truly regret ever being with you. After that, she stopped playing the guitar, her dream abandoned. And because she had said, I truly regret ever being with you, I often found myself crying in the middle of the night, but I made one last attempt. I held her and said softly, Chloe, I want to have a child with you. She shoved me away, her eyes filled with an indescribable loathing. In our financial situation, can we afford a child right now? Besides, I've told you before I hate kids. I don't want to have your child. Those words completely shattered the last glimmer of hope I had. That New Year's, a head-on collision with a truck ended both our lives. In that final moment, I felt no fear, only relief. Now, we had both been reborn and had chosen to keep our distance. There was absolutely no reason to get sentimental over the past. I silently pushed the check back toward her. No, thank you. I don't accept things from strangers. She frowned, questioning me. Ethan, am I a stranger to you? What is that supposed to mean? I replied, I can buy my own clothes, and whatever my job is, I find it perfectly respectable. There's nothing shameful about it, and I'm certainly not giving up on myself. You should give this money to someone who actually needs it. She stood there, holding the check, her lips pressed into a thin line. Nathan walked over to her side, glanced at the check in her hand, and seemed to grasp the situation. Though his eyes flashed with anger, he maintained a gentle facade. Ethan, if you won't accept our goodwill, then let's offer something more practical. I recently opened a high-end salon on Grand Avenue. You can go there, and I'll set you up as an apprentice. The pay isn't amazing, but it's still $6,000 a month. More importantly, you'll learn a trade. That way, if you ever hit rock bottom, you can open your own shop. What do you think? Interested? It's certainly more respectable than whatever you're doing now. I calmly continued eating and declined their offer. Thank you for the thought, but I'm quite satisfied with my current job. I have no plans to leave it. A few classmates started shouting at me. Ethan, don't be so ungrateful. Chloe and Nathan are being generous, offering you money and a job. Just take it. Yeah, you're in no position to be proud. The only reason someone doing that badly would show up to a reunion is to network. Stop putting on an act. Nathan interjected with false sincerity. Everyone, don't be like that. Maybe Ethan genuinely likes his job. He turned to me. Ethan, we're just trying to help, for old time's sake. Don't let your pride make you miss out on a good opportunity. I truly didn't understand the point of them trying to force money and a job on me. I really don't need it. Thank you. Nathan's smile remained gentle, but his eyes were filled with mockery and disdain. Chloe clutched the check and sneered. You're a lost cause. Trying to help you is pointless. Just stay poor for the rest of your life for all I care. After that remark, several of my old female classmates swarmed over, trying to force drinks on me. Ethan, you look so pathetic. Drink this and I'll Venmo you $100. If you're really that desperate, I can make it 200. The look in her eyes was predatory. The other classmates just roared with laughter, not a single one stepping in to help. I frowned. This reunion was nothing like I'd imagined. If I weren't waiting for someone, I would have walked out right then and there. I was about to call for security when Chloe, who had been standing off to the side, suddenly stubbed out her cigarette. She grabbed the arm of the woman harassing me, her eyes icy with what looked like genuine anger. Knock it off. The woman yelped in pain from the force of her grip. Nathan grabbed Chloe's sleeve. Chloe, what are you doing? Chloe's expression remained cold. Just doing the right thing. This is a class reunion, not your personal playground to act like a fool. With that, she shoved the woman's arm away. The woman didn't dare challenge Chloe, but she shot me a venomous glare. I couldn't help but glance at Chloe, surprised that she had actually defended me. Nathan looked like he was grinding his teeth, but he forced a smile. I heard the heiress and the president of the Sterling Corporation are in a meeting upstairs. If we're lucky, we might get a glimpse of the city's wealthiest woman. At this, the classmates grew excited. The Sterling heiress is gorgeous and incredibly wealthy. I heard she's only in her early 30s and already has a 5-year-old. Her husband has always been kept out of the public eye. Does that mean we might actually get to see him today? I have to post this on Facebook. This is breaking news. Soon, a group of bodyguards escorted a little girl into the ballroom. The crowd buzzed with excitement. Look at that entourage. That must be the Sterling heiress's daughter. She's absolutely adorable. The woman who had been harassing me, despite being rebuked, now directed her frustration at me. Ethan, if it weren't for Nathan, a wage slave like you would never even be in the same room as the Sterling heiress. If I were you, I'd get on my knees and thank him. Maybe then you'd get a decent job and land a woman like me, who actually makes $6,000 a month. Psycho, I muttered, ignoring her and calmly watching the little girl. Everyone else was swarming the child, their faces plastered with sycophantic smiles, phones out, desperately trying to take photos and videos. Even the usually arrogant Nathan approached the girl with a friendly, almost fawning expression. Is there anything you'd like to eat, little one? Uncle here will pay for it. As he spoke, he reached out to pinch her cheek. But to everyone's astonishment, the little girl, surrounded by her bodyguards, completely ignored all the fawning adults and walked straight toward me. With a sweet smile, she leaped into my arms. Daddy, you're finally here. The little girl, who had seemed so reserved a moment ago, now looked up at me with a pout. Why didn't you come home yesterday? I missed you so much. I hugged my daughter, Lily, tightly and whispered, Daddy was working, sweetie. I told you that when I left yesterday. Remember? I have the day off tomorrow. How about we go out and do something fun? My sweet Lily nodded eagerly. Okay, Daddy's the best. Every single one of my classmates stared, their faces a mask of pure, unadulterated shock. Just as they were about to speak, a graceful, beautiful woman in an elegant dress hurried down from the upstairs conference room. Honey, the hotel manager told me you were here for a reunion. Why didn't you tell me you were off work? I would have come to pick you up. The hotel manager stood beside her, addressing the stunned crowd. This is the president of the Sterling Corporation, Ms. Olivia Sterling. Ms. Sterling is also Mr. Ethan Miller's wife. To all of Mr. Miller's former classmates, if there is anything you require during your meal, please do not hesitate to ask. We will do our utmost to accommodate you as guests of the hotel. The expressions on my classmates' faces were a sight to behold. Some were giddy with excitement, while the ones who had been mocking me just moments before were now deathly pale. A couple of guys I was friendly with couldn't hold back. Ethan, your wife is Olivia Sterling? The richest woman in the city. Isn't it obvious? The manager called him Mr. Miller, the little girl called him Daddy. He has to be her husband, the one no one's ever seen. Wow, now that's real class. Faced with the murmurs and whispers from my classmates, I simply responded with a polite smile. Olivia, standing beside me, looked over my tired state and pulled me into a hug. You just came from the hospital again, didn't you? Let's go home and get you some rest right after this. I nodded and said, okay. Then my wife, who could appear so formidable, completely ignored Nathan as he tried to approach her. Her gaze landed squarely on Chloe. She spoke with a hint of disdain. You must be my husband's ex. I should thank you for not marrying him. If you hadn't left, I never would have met such a wonderful man. Chloe completely ignored Olivia's jab. Instead, she stared at me, her expression a complex mix of emotions, with a hint of desperation in her eyes. She demanded, Ethan, is this your way of punishing me? How much did you pay these two actors? I set my daughter down and took Olivia's hand. This is my wife, Olivia Sterling. The expression on her face shifted from disbelief to shock, then to a deathly pallor, and finally to empty silence. Maybe the old me would have felt a pang of sympathy for her, but she was right. The past was the past. There was no point in looking back. I had a new love, a child, my dream job, and the happy marriage and family I could never have in my last life. By every measure, my life now was infinitely happier. Nathan had been the one to organize this reunion, but after my identity was revealed, the way everyone looked at me changed completely. The fawning attention they had given Nathan now shifted to me, all in the span of a few minutes. I can't believe Ethan married the Sterling heiress, and Chloe just tried to pay him off with a check. How ridiculous does that look now? Exactly. She assumed her ex was a loser, but he ended up with someone far more successful. And didn't Nathan try to offer him a job as a salon apprentice? I just heard Ethan is a lead surgeon at City General. He's apparently a big deal. Why would he need anyone's help finding a job? What a joke. Ethan, you got married. Why didn't you tell any of us? We would have gotten you a great wedding gift. I watched as the same classmates who had ignored me earlier now tried to act like my closest friends, and I found the whole display laughable. Still, I exchanged pleasantries, maintaining a veneer of politeness. The reunion wasn't even over, but I'd already lost all interest. Soon after, my wife Olivia and I took our daughter and left. We had just stepped out of the Sterling Grand Hotel when I heard a voice call out, Ethan, Chloe had followed us out. I asked Olivia to take Lily to the car and wait, since the November night air was getting chilly. Olivia didn't say a word, just nodded silently. As always, she respected my decisions and trusted me completely. Chloe's eyes, however, were filled with a storm of confusion and complicated emotions. How could you be married to Olivia Sterling? There was nothing to hide. Her mother was a patient at my hospital for a heart condition. I was her attending surgeon. We spoke often about her mother's condition, and that's how we got to know each other. She said she admired my dedication to my patients and my passion for my research. So Olivia, being the decisive person she is, began to pursue me. I had seen how devoted she was to her mother, and I already had a very high opinion of her. The day she officially asked me out, I asked her a few questions. First, do you want children? She said, yes. I could give you a pretty speech about respecting your wishes, but I want to be honest. I want children. My dream has always been a happy family of 3. I asked her my next question. Will you ever try to stop me from pursuing my medical research? She shook her head earnestly. Never. A person's purpose isn't confined to their family. It's also about their contribution to society and their own self-fulfillment. I will always support you in whatever you want to achieve. One last question, I said. Will you have any regrets? She just smiled. I'm Olivia Sterling. I never have regrets. From that day on, I agreed to give us a chance, to give both of us a fresh start. After that, we naturally fell in love and got married. The wedding was very low-key. We just went to the courthouse and had a small dinner with close friends and family. By the time I finished my story, Chloe's eyes were red. Is that little girl really your child? She asked, her voice trembling. But you always said you only ever wanted to have children with me. How could you have a child with another woman? Her question left me speechless. I could only echo her own words back to her. Chloe, what's past is past. You said so yourself. Why are you dwelling on it now? The promises from a past life don't carry over to this one. When we both tacitly went our separate ways, we agreed that having no contact was for the best, didn't we? Besides, in our last life, you regretted being with me and made it clear you never wanted my child. I couldn't accept a life like that. Chloe suddenly yelled, her voice filled with rage. I regretted it because you never supported me. You emailed all those music publishers and told them to reject my songs. Her accusation left me utterly bewildered. What are you talking about? I have no idea what you mean. I never sent any emails. Back then, I was working 3 jobs to support your dream. I didn't have time for something so pointless. I wanted you to succeed more than anyone. Couldn't you feel that in our last life? My words struck her like a lightning bolt. Chloe froze, looking as if she'd been physically hit. She covered her mouth, unable to process what she was hearing. She pressed on, then why wouldn't you buy me that guitar? In that moment, I finally understood the unfinished sentence she had started back at the reunion. Did you think we had any money? When your father got sick, we spent nearly every penny of our savings on his hospital bills. After paying for food, what money did you think was left for a new guitar? Chloe looked utterly devastated, muttering to herself, impossible. Nathan told me. He said you sent those emails because you were afraid. You were afraid I'd become successful and leave you. If our past life had left me feeling disappointed, this moment made me feel utterly hopeless about what we once had. We were together for so many years, yet you let a single comment from someone else erase everything I ever did for you. Don't you find that laughable? I sighed. My wife and daughter are waiting. I have to go. As I turned to leave, Chloe called out anxiously behind me, Ethan, do you still love me? I shook my head without hesitation. The love from our past life is long gone. Now, I love my wife and my daughter. I didn't understand why she was asking. She was the one who insisted there was no point in dwelling on the past, and I had truly, completely moved on. But just a month later, Nathan's father, Mr. Vance, was all over the news. He was exposed for tax evasion, using substandard materials in his construction projects, falsifying data, and bribing city officials. I was shocked when I heard the news. The once untouchable Nathan Vance looked so broken on camera. All of his family's assets were frozen by the courts. He couldn't even go home. With the number of charges against him, his father would likely spend the rest of his life in prison. But they weren't the only victims. There were all the ordinary people who had spent their life savings on his buildings, only to be left with dangerously defective homes. When I heard the details, I sighed. It's just awful. Some people have no conscience when it comes to business. Olivia, sitting beside me, put on a mock pout. Hey, don't lump me in with them. I have a conscience. I smiled. Olivia had always prided herself on providing the best value. All her properties, from hotels to residential buildings, were built with top-quality materials and sold at fair prices. That's why the Sterling Corporation had grown so large and earned such a stellar reputation. Respect your customers, and they'll reward you with their loyalty. But people like Nathan's father, who profit by cutting corners and endangering lives, are utterly depraved. Not long after, I got a call from an unknown number. I hesitated for a moment before answering. It was Chloe. Did you see the news, Ethan? I was the one who reported him. I frowned, unsure why she was telling me this. Well, on behalf of all those families, thank you. Her voice on the other end of the line sounded incredibly weak. Ethan, I want to see you. Can I? I replied sternly. I told you before, I've moved on. You don't need to. I was cut off by the sound of her coughing. Chloe gave a weak, bitter laugh. I went to the hospital a few days ago for some tests. It's late-stage lung cancer. Ethan, please, can you just see me one more time? Hearing that felt like something inside my head just snapped. I was silent for a long time before I finally answered, my voice hoarse. Bring your medical reports. Come to my hospital. That afternoon, Chloe came to my office. She had lost a shocking amount of weight. She placed the reports on my desk, and I quickly scanned them, my brow furrowed. You need to get admitted as soon as possible and start treatment, I told her. I happened to have a break in my schedule, so I walked with her to get the admission paperwork sorted out. Once she was settled in her room, Chloe looked at me with red-rimmed eyes, her expression full of sorrow. Ethan, I knew you wouldn't abandon me. You do still have feelings for me, don't you? I know now that I misunderstood you. It was all my fault. You were so good to me in our last life, and I treated you horribly. I see that now. I don't regret our time together in that life, not one bit. Ethan, I know I was wrong. Please, can you forgive me? Let's get back together. We can have a child, the child you always wanted us to have. I frowned at her. Chloe, I need you to be clear on this. We broke up the moment we came back to this life. I have a new family now. I have a child. I need you to stop saying things like this. Chloe shook her head in disbelief. You must still care. Otherwise, why would you be helping me? We were together for so many years. You can't just turn off those feelings. You're just angry with me. Please stop being angry. I've already told you I was wrong. A cold smile touched my lips as I pulled my hand away. I'm helping you because we have a long history, and you have cancer. If my actions have led to a misunderstanding, then I am truly sorry. You should call your parents to come and be with you. And let me be clear, marrying you in our last life was the biggest regret of my life. I don't love you anymore, and I certainly don't want your child. Please, stop living in a past that I have no desire to revisit. After I said that, Chloe froze, her face a mask of pain. I didn't linger. I turned and walked out of her room. Chloe shouted after me, all women are the same. Do you really think Olivia Sterling loves you? Why would the wealthiest woman in the city fall for an ordinary guy like you? Wake up, you two can never be happy. I'm the only one who's right for you. Hearing her bitter words only made me walk faster. She hadn't changed at all from our last life. When she's on top, she despises everyone beneath her. When she's down, she's consumed by jealousy and tries to drag everyone else down with her. People like that are never satisfied, always living in regret. And while everyone else might think I married up with Olivia, I know that in our relationship we are equals. Chloe sees me as just an ordinary doctor, completely unaware of the breakthroughs and achievements from my research. But Olivia took the time to see all of me. She once held me close and whispered in my ear, "Honey, your research saves lives. No amount of money can do that. You're the real superhero." Because of Olivia, I finally understood what real love is. It's not one person taking and the other giving. It's two people striving for their own dreams, side by side, supporting each other all the way. I would never let a few bitter words from Chloe make me doubt my relationship with my wife. But it seemed Chloe hadn't given up. One day, she showed up at my office holding a guitar. She began to play and sing the song she wrote when she first confessed her feelings to me. Look into my eyes. They can't lie. The familiar melody played, but I felt nothing but a profound sense of irritation. The irony of that song was suffocating. After we were married, nearly every day was filled with her lies. I sternly told her to leave, but she rushed over and grabbed my hand. Ethan, I'm so sorry. I truly regret everything. I don't want this to be the end. It was all my fault. I didn't appreciate you. Please, can you forgive me? I looked at her coldly. Was I not clear enough last time? Being with you was the greatest regret of my life. And do you know what I'm most thankful for? A flicker of hope appeared in her eyes, only to be instantly extinguished by my next words. That you and I never had a child. That is the one mercy heaven granted me. Please, stop bothering me. Chloe's parents arrived just then. The elderly couple guided her back to her room, apologizing to me profusely. "We're so sorry. Our daughter is very ill, and she's done things to trouble you. But Ethan, tell me, is there truly no chance for you two?" Looking at the two people who had been so kind to me in our past life, I answered earnestly. "Ma'am, sir, I'm married. I have a wife and a daughter. Even if I weren't, I could never be with Chloe again. I simply don't love her anymore. I hope she focuses on her treatment and stops trying to contact me." The two of them nodded, their faces full of apology. Soon after, Chloe was transferred to another hospital, and I didn't hear from her again. The next time I had any news was when her mother called me. "Ethan, Chloe, she doesn't have much time left. She wants to see you one last time. Can you come?" I was silent for a long moment before finally answering in a hoarse voice. "Okay." I hung up the phone. For a brief moment, I tried to recall the details of our love in that past life, but the memories were faded and indistinct. Time, it seems, truly does wash everything away. When I saw Chloe again, she was emaciated beyond recognition, her cheekbones sharp, a shadow of her former self. Her eyes were vacant as she stared out the window, but a flicker of light returned to them the moment I stepped into the room. She glanced down at her frail body and gave a self-deprecating smile. "I must look awful, don't I, Ethan?" I didn't answer, and she continued. "I'm sorry. I was so insecure back then. I tried so hard to achieve my dream in music, but all I ever met with was failure. I couldn't face it, so I blamed it all on you. I suppose this is my punishment. Ethan, tell me, if we could have one more do-over, and this time I did everything right, would you still choose me?" Looking into her hopeful, shining eyes, I cut through her fantasy without hesitation. "No, life doesn't give you that many chances to start over. And besides, Chloe, you wouldn't change. You are never satisfied. A person who is never satisfied can never find happiness, no matter how many times they get to start over." Chloe looked at me, tears of regret streaming down her face. "So there's really no chance? But I truly know I was wrong now." I gave her my final, certain answer. No chance. After I left that day, I never went back. I had too much to cherish in my present life. My research led to an opportunity for an academic exchange in the UK, and the hospital director recommended me for it. When I landed, I was shocked to find Olivia and Lily already waiting for me at the airport. She walked toward me holding a bouquet of flowers, and I was overcome with surprise and joy. Olivia threw her arms around me. "Surprise! My husband is here to study, so of course his wife and daughter had to come along. Are you happy?" I nodded. "So happy. It's the best surprise." During my exchange program, we traveled all over the UK, making countless wonderful memories together. It was during that trip that I received the news of Chloe's passing. I felt a brief moment of melancholy, but then I turned and saw two figures, one big and one small, running toward me. I opened my arms wide to embrace my future.